Homeowners in West Linn have watched fees on their water bills double over the last decade, but not for water usage. Utility fees are funding parks maintenance, street maintenance, and now a controversial $45 million operations center. And all of this without a public vote. Evan Watson brings us this story, his latest look into this trend among Oregon cities.
In the hills of West Linn, you'll find some homeowners grumbling.
You don't notice it until it's like, wow, look what I'm paying now.
Their monthly water bills are going up and up. And that has nothing to do with how much water they're using.
Who's to say they're not going to do it for the next big project too, right?
West Linn is one of dozens of Oregon cities that are adding or increasing utility fees, charges that can fund anything from police officers to streetlights. KGW has tracked the trend across the state.
And there's no disincentive, unfortunately, that once you get on the fee kick, to just keep on doing it.
Starting July 1st, the median West Linn household will pay an extra $50 a month in special fees for parks maintenance and street maintenance. A decade ago, residents paid about half of that, just over $25. Unlike a bond, voters don't get to approve utility fees. City leaders can adjust and increase these charges at will. There's no expiration date. They're added on top of typical water and sewer fees, and it's not always clear where the money is going.
There's no requirement for the fees to end, so it's basically going to be kind of like a cash cow in the future.
In this case, West Linn residents do know. The city is hiking fees to pay for a new $45 million operations complex on land above I-205 that carries its own controversy. In 1969, a construction project caused a devastating landslide that destroyed 3 houses and a city reservoir. The state took control of the land. 5 years ago, a state geologist advised the Oregon Department of Transportation not to sell the land to West Linn, citing landslide uncertainty and potential seismic instability. The sale went through. West Linn commissioned its own review of the land, which cleared the project to move forward. Some neighbors are appealing the plans, concerned about an earthquake.
Basically risking a $45 million operation to fate. And so I'm generally a gambler, but I don't gamble with $45 million.
Mayor Rory Bialystowski says the city did its research and a new operations center is desperately needed. He showed KGW around the city's current facility, pointing out old equipment.
Why did the city choose to go the increasing utility fee route for this operations center as opposed to seeking a bond and voter approval?
We have to accomplish this project. It's kind of giving a false choice about whether we have to do it or not, because people could vote no.
You and city leaders went to utility fee increases to guarantee that this project would be funded.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because it's a critical project that has to happen.
These 4 longtime West Linn residents, including 3 former council members and a former mayor, bristle at the idea of taking funding choices out of the hands of voters.
Elected officials need to trust their constituents in order to build trust.
So much easier just to increase fees.
The city council has missed an opportunity to develop trust with the community.
And I don't think that's responsible at all.
West Linn added the streets and parks maintenance fees nearly 20 years ago after a police levy failed. The city's 2008 budget document implied the fees would be temporary, saying they provide policy officials, staff, and the community adequate time to review and evaluate viable alternative resources. Decisions can then be made in the best long-term interest of the community. Carrie Oakes, a neighborhood organizer, remembers city leaders saying they'd take the fees away.
And they didn't do it. And they haven't done it ever since. It's like nobody remembers. You know, councils change. People aren't that involved.
All fees, including the streets and parks fees, now make up 36% of West Linn's annual revenues, bringing in more than $20 million each year. Bialystowski says that's an unfortunate reality as the city tries to keep up with rising costs.
I think utility fees are essential to the functioning of the core services that the city provides.
The mayor brought his utility bill, showing he pays the same fees as anyone else in West Linn. And the city uses this chart to make sure its fees are generally in line with peer cities. Ultimately, city leaders around the state of Oregon frequently point to measures 5 and 50, constitutional amendments that passed in the 90s capping property tax growth at 3% each year.
That cost of providing all the vital services has gone up more than 3%. So having utility fees is the way that a lot of cities have figured out this is the only way we can provide.
But utility fees aren't proportional to a person's income or home value.
Fees are regressive. It hurts the people that have the least, that can least afford it.
And if voters want to lower or get rid of them, their only hope is to find a candidate or a council who will.
Do you have any concern that residents will at some point say, hey, these utility fees are too much?
That's the real balancing act. Make those tough decisions and balance all the community concerns and keep costs as low as possible.
So Evan's here. Evan, you found these these utility bills are far from unique with West Linn.
Yeah, when it comes to utility fees, we see that all across the state. For example, the city of Portland is adding a transportation utility fee, about $12 a month per each bill for a single-family household. That's going to start in January of this next year. They passed that in April, and we see a lot of smaller cities around the state turning to these fees as major revenue drivers.
All right, thanks very much.